Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk. Hey guys, so welcome back. I had an emotional breakdown this weekend, so you are going to listen to an old episode because it was the day we were supposed to record an episode. So yay! Enjoy it. Uh, but guess what? We are gonna have Rachel, Ryan's wife, on in the nearest future. That's planned for next week, and then we're gonna do 2 new episodes. So don't worry. I'm fine. For the most part. Yep. Just call me the speedball crier. Okay. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoy this. This is the old one with Link. Um, relevant all time, forever. Okay, bye. Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at Wheel Talk Podcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Okay, hello.
Hello, welcome. So today we have a new guest on the podcast. We actually reached out to her because of her expertise and her role at a place that many of us have experience with Kentucky Mudworks. So welcome to Link Henderson.
Thanks.
Hi.
Yay!
Hi.
For people that don't know who you are, can you do like a quick introduction of kind of who you are, and then maybe I don't actually know much about your backstory of like how you got into clay or anything like that. So if you wanted to kind of go into that, that would be good for people to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say a lot. That's really important for you to grasp, and it's going to happen a lot.
That's okay.
So I am the owner of Kentucky Mudworks, ceramic supplies, clay glazes, and also Dirty Girls Pottery Tools and Groovy Tools. Those are 2 brands of products that we produce, as well as our clay and glazes. And I've been in business since 2001. So when I was wee little lass, and just started teaching classes and like throwing on the wheel and making pots of my own and selling it. And so that's about 20 years. This is probably about our 20 years. Later in the year will be our 20th anniversary. So
Wow.
Whoa, I didn't know it's been that long.
I know, right? I got into clay when I was 13, actually. I fell in love with it. I took an after-school class. My mom always encouraged me to do art, and I tried everything, after-school painting, collage, sculpture, that kind of thing. And then one of them was the clay on the wheel, and I was like, oh my God, Mom, this is the greatest thing in the whole world. I made this little turd for you, and it's got a hole in it, and you can put a sponge in it, and this is the greatest thing ever. And I was like on the cusp of puberty, and I was like, this is where it's at. Everybody in the studio was like 85, and they were like my kindred spirits, and I was just this little 13-year-old who was like, I didn't really enjoy school very much, as far as like people my age were just doing stupid shit, drinking, partying, woo, and I was just more like, I need to find my purpose in life. You know what I mean?
Very mature for a 13-year-old.
Right. I was pretty, I had a lot of therapy at that point. And so I really loved it. And I kept saying, hey, Mom, I want to keep taking pottery classes. And so I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, and there was this thing called Durham Arts Council, and they had evening pottery classes and like weekend ones. So she would drop me off, and I would take classes. And then once I got the ability to get a car, bought my car, and would go Friday and Saturday, I'd be like, let's go to the pottery studio. You know what I mean? As a teenager,
Nice.
like that was my jam. And I loved it so much. And then graduated from college, went to like a liberal arts college, double majored in studio ceramics and Latin. And
Oh, yeah.
so, 'cause, you got to do that, right? And
Yeah.
so, and then I moved to Kentucky with a friend for whatever. I was like, yeah, I'll get a job. That's cool. And a couple years into odd jobs, food service, etc., I met a girl who's actually a really pretty well-known ceramic artist in Bloomington, Becky Lowry, and she was teaching classes at like the local art league, and she was moving and with her husband, and she needed somebody to teach, so she handed the teaching off to me,
Huh.
and I was working odd jobs at the time, and I was like, hey man, I could do this, I could like quit my job and do this thing and teach classes
Yeah.
and sell pots. And so I did. And then 2001, 9/11 hit, and it was like, well, fuck, that was a good idea. And but we made it through, and gradually I realized there was nowhere in the whole state to buy ceramic supplies. Like the place in Louisville had just closed because they kind of didn't want to do it anymore, which was like whatever. And so I would go to an art fair, and lots of people would be like, hey, where are you getting your clay? What are you doing? What's going on? And I had 30 students to deal with. And so I was like, I think I should add this to what I do. And as soon as I started selling stuff, people were like, oh my God, please sell this and sell this, because there's nowhere to get stuff.
Right.
Really how the supply part was born is that it was just a way to diversify what I was doing. I didn't do really well at art fairs. It's not in me. People who do that, I'm like, you are awesome, because I can't do it. Because it requires you to sit and wait, and I can't.
You gotta be patient. You gotta have the wherewithal to like interact all day, repeat the same things all day, and
I am not that person who sits at a craft fair and waits. I'm like, shit, I could be doing 87 other things, blah, 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 blah. And I also, like, I don't have a body of work per se. A lot of people are like, oh, what is your style? What's your work look like? What's your artist statement? That's not me. I'm very much, like, for me, my artist statement is Mudworks and the things that it offers and what it does for the people who are part of what I love. What can I get you? How is this good? How is this bad? How can we fix that? That kind of thing. And it allows me to be like porcelain, red clay. I can just do all those things, and I don't have to pay my bills making pots, because I'm just interested in all of it. You know what I mean? I don't have that focus to make a living off of that. That's just not for me. And
it sounds like you've wanted to kind of teach and like help other makers like up and coming and like learn the skills and like
that's what I enjoy. And
providing the supplies and all the resources you need.
Yeah, the nerdy science part of glazes and clay and that kind of thing, and making new products and tools and stuff like that. Like for me, that's what I really, enjoy. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am. So
that's cool. Well, I also want to know about the farm that you guys have.
Oh yeah. So I just have like 8 or 9 acres, and it's only about 1.5 acres of like fields, and the rest is house and lake and pond. And I had chickens for a long time, like 200 chickens, and I sold eggs, which was cool. And then the foxes came in and they just ate all the chickens, and I was like, I'm done. Yeah, 13 years of trying to deal with chickens, I'm done. And my husband actually, I bought the farm before I met him because I was like, I need to escape to a quiet place. I like to have my space. I'm like I like to just look out, because my day is full of 500 phone calls, 1,000 emails, products, employees.
Yeah, you gotta unplug.
Yeah. And I lived in cities enough that I'm like, I don't need to walk to the bar. I'll just stumble to the fridge and then go to my studio. I'm good.
Yeah.
So, I'm good. And so I met him after about a year and a half after I moved out here, and I had started farming garlic, and I had a couple of chickens. And he was actually a trained chef at a breakfast restaurant, so he started buying eggs off of me. And then a couple years after he left there is when the foxes just moved in and just. So now I just have garlic, and like potatoes. We do garlic and potatoes and stuff like that. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
Nice.
it's fun. It's like a lot of work, but I kind of enjoy like physically exhausting myself on a daily basis. And I don't know, I just like garlic, and I don't know, I just like to watch something grow. And a little farm journal, and this year the weather was like this, and this variety didn't do well, and I didn't fertilize like I should, just stuff. I'm just a very like busy hobby related person, so I always have to be, to me that's relaxing. So
Yeah. So for people that don't know much about Mudworks or where exactly are you located? And
in
where's
Lexington,
Mudworks?
Kentucky is the main facility, and then we have a little satellite store in Louisville where people can buy, whatever they need. But we make the glaze and the clay and Dirty Girls tools and Groovy tools in the Lexington facility.
Nice. How big is that space? Because I think you all just moved in the last year and a half
Really
or 2 years.
small. It was huge, but now it's really filled with crap. It's 20,000 square feet, and it really should be like 50, but oh well.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about that's big.
In the Louisville one, you all moved there as well. I feel like, did you all move both locations within like a year of one another?
Within a month.
A month. Okay. I didn't know how long it was, but
Yeah.
I've visited both locations in the
Mhm.
different locations since they've moved. But how big is the one in Louisville?
It's like 2,800 square feet. I really had to like bug out of my place that I was in there. It wasn't a great place. It was a great location for customers because it was very central, but downtown is not hospitable to tractor trailers and forklifts in the street, and people are very busy and they're honking and get out of my way, and it's
Yeah.
like it's just not, it wasn't a great environment for an industrial setting.
Yeah.
And so when the lease was up, I was like,
Because you previously made all of the clay in Louisville, correct?
yeah, in 5,000 square feet. Yeah.
Oh my
so
God.
Tiny. It was really, really small. And at that point, I was like, if we don't get out of here, I'm going to have a stroke. And, there was just, it was like, oh, you need that one thing, and I have to move 16 pallets to get to it kind of situation. Because, when we started making clay, it was like, we'd make, 4 skids of a clay, and we only had like 8 clays. Now it's like, I need 40 skids of that by next week. I need 40 skids of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we had grown to a point where it was still small in comparison to the giant companies like Standard, Laguna, places like that. But for us, a lot of bigger. And so we just needed to move. And I lived 45 minutes from Louisville, and I was commuting every day. And I lived like 30 minutes from Lexington. And it just works out better. It's actually, the Lexington store is significantly busier because it's actually really centrally located to the state, and like people from Ohio and people from Tennessee
Right.
and Carolina,
West Virginia, North Carolina, like they can all kind of
yeah,
meet there in Lexington.
yeah. So it's a much busier store, but the Louisville store is getting a lot busier. It's out in Middletown. So for people who live downtown, it's a bit of a drive, but it's better than driving to Lexington. So
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you all start making clay? You said you started with like 8 clays. How long is 2016? Okay.
yeah, had been
Wow.
playing with clay bodies for several years. I had some recipes from college, and I was just like, for me it was like, I don't know, 2016. Trying to think of what the world was like back then, pre-COVID. It was like we had hit, like, Kentucky only has 4 or 5 million people in it, so like we kind of were topping out with sales and growth. And for me, I guess in a lot of ways personally, I was a little bit not challenged. Felt a little not challenged, and I was like, I need a challenge. Let's go crazy. You know what I mean? And so I just was, I've been selling a lot of different clay brands for many, many years, and there was never anything new, never anything exciting, never anything that was like, oh, that doesn't need glaze on top of it, And so for me, I just was like, I think I'll just start this little thing that'll be kind of cool, and will be fulfilling for me, and will grow my business a little bit. And so I just was designing clay bodies that I thought were the clay itself was beautiful, both in the raw state, like when you open the bag, if you look at a bunch of our clay bodies, it's like, oh my God, they're like beautiful, in the
Right.
raw state. And then, you fire them, and there are some that are a lot similar to others. I mean, there's only so many speckled buff clays that you're going to make. But for me, I had been throwing for like 30 years, and I had thrown with everything that I sold. And I was just like, oh, I'm so bored. And a lot of clays are just really, really slippy, really goopy, really sloppy. And I throw really quickly. Like, I'm like, boom, done, let's get.
Yes.
In my mind, I'm very much a production potter. And if I have to clean my hands off 50 times by the time I'm done with a mug, I don't like that clay. I don't have time for just goop. But I also don't throw with the goop. Some people throw with the slip, which is cool. But for me, I like super clean, thin water so I can feel it, because I'm like, zip, let's do this. And I mean, I have lots of pots where I'm like, I'll take 25 minutes on a tea bowl. But I mean, as far as like in years past, I used to make a lot of commission stuff. Somebody would come in and say, I need 100 cups for my graduating class. Boom. Okay, here you go. So I did a lot of that and a lot of repetition, and I have the kind of personality that just likes to zone in on it and just make 100 of something. And then I'm like, I feel like a success. I just have that kind of, production sensibility. And for me, I just wanted to make clays that, were a little bit more unique than what is out there. And, and I started with, the ones I really started with were very different, I felt, than what was already out there. And then I began to fill in the gaps. More people were like, oh, I really love this clay. You should make a plain white clay. And I was like, oh, well, I sell 3 or 4 plain white clays, and, like B-Mix, little loafers. And they were like, but why don't you make one? And I was like, well, maybe I will. So, it just kind of grew from there.
What were the OG Mudworks clays?
Yeah.
Brown Bear is definitely an OG, which I love that clay. And gosh, I'm trying to think back. Claw Hammer, White Bear, what else? Sheltoe was an early one. Mulholland. I really like mustard colored things. And
That's
so
the
like
Mulholland, right? Is more mustard out of the bag.
Yeah, and the claw hammers are like baby poo color. It's kind of an interesting color, and just I wasn't sort of saying, well, I'm gonna make the same stuff as everybody else, because I don't know what's in their clay, and so I just had to pick what I liked about it and hope that other people liked it as well. So, and also like range clay. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I
Talk.
have been selling clay that a lot of the clays out there are like 6 to 10. And then people would be like, hey, why is my vase leaking? I was like, because you're using a 6 to 10 clay and your glaze doesn't fit. And they're like, but why do they say it's vitrified at 6? And this was 5-6 years ago, before there were 50,000 clay buddies who were all talking and getting their science on. You know what I mean? They're just like figuring out tones, and they're dialing it in, firing at home. And so for me, I just was like, well, I don't like range bodies. I was like, you should use a cone 6. If you're firing to cone 6, you should use a cone 10. If you're firing to cone 10. So that's been something that I've concentrated, having the bodies be for specific ranges instead of a all-purpose kind of thing.
I wanted to ask you about that, because why do you think companies offer it that way?
I think a lot of it is that most of the companies are 30 to 50 to 70 years old, and cone 10 was it. Like, I started Mudworks in 2001. I graduated college in 97. Cone 6 wasn't even on the radar. The only company that had a line of glazes was Amico. Had like 12 of those really bright celebration glazes that I don't care for the color. And then Spectrum. There was nothing else.
Yeah.
There was and I was like, I'm going to build a gas kiln, and I'm going to do all this. And then I moved into a city and an apartment, and I didn't have $5,000 to plop a gas kiln down in an apartment. So I was like, okay, I need to get figured out. And so Becky was doing cone 6, And so she kind of was like, here's what I've been doing. If you want to do other stuff, go for it. And the Mastering Cone 6 Glazes book had just come out. And so it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I could do this in my studio. And so from there, I came up with basic glazes. And what was on the market was basically cone 10 glazes that people went, oh, okay. I mean, it's kind of vitrified at 6, 4 or 5%. So I don't know. I think Laguna has always kind of had a 5 or a 10.
Yeah.
But I kind of grew up in like high water standard country, so I don't know. I think a lot of it is that it's starting to be vitrified at 6, but it's really not. Doesn't mean you can't make a nice sculpture out of it, that it won't hold together. But as far as like a really tight functional body, I don't know. I'm not sure.
It seems like production-wise, they would have to just overhaul, like call this, standard 182.5 or something, or 180, so it's like more straightforward that this is actually their cone 5 vitrified or cone 6 vitrified, not the cone 10. Because I feel like that's not educated to people when they're buying clay.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know a ton about. You might have heard of vitrification in school and stuff, but you don't know why it's important necessarily, or why it has such an important factor when you're creating functional work. So.
Exactly. And so I think over the years, I've seen all the other manufacturers adding a lot of specifically cone 5, 6 bodies to their line, which are more targeted to be vitrified, and they're very similar to a cone 10 body that they flux down, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I was in Seattle, Seattle Pottery Supply is the main clay supplier to Seattle, but I think Tacoma's kind of taken over, Tacoma Clay Art Center, and Seattle is definitely a 6 to 10 type of company, and Jim had been there for years, and then when Tacoma had been there for a long time, but when Quinn came in, I think that it kind of scooted everything, and they have only 4 to 6. They have cone 10, but they don't have anything that's 6 to 10. They only have a 4 to 6 or a 10,
Right.
So, and that was really nice, and their clay's always vitrified quite nicely, as opposed to Seattle Pottery Supply.
Yeah. We have one range clay, and it's called Ranger, because it's actually what I consider a true range clay. It's less than 2% at 6 and 0.3 at cone 10. You cannot take it to 11. It will blow. It's literally like 6 and 10. So, and I fire it at cone 10 in our little wood kiln all the time, but it has to go in spots I know are that are not going to just go to cone 10. And so whenever I sell it to people, I say, this isn't like I'm going to do a cone 13, cone killer firing, and everything's roasted. It's going to be great. No, this is not going to work for you. Pick a different clay,
Yeah.
So, because I have a couple studios that do both. And I just was like, if you're going to do cone 10 gas, just don't be like 11 and a half, and you'll
right.
So.
That's cool. Okay, I have a question about the clay. And it's interesting to hear you talk about how you like to throw, because that is exactly how I like to throw. And I recently went to a workshop, and he had B-Mix for the workshop.
Laguna B-Mix?
I want to say yes.
Okay, because there's like Aardvark B-Mix and
no,
some other
I didn't realize there were 5 different B-Mixes.
Yeah, so I want to say it was Laguna B-Mix. And I've been throwing at Rebecca's and using brown bear and big turtle. And then I go to this workshop, and I'm like, why? I remember the first day of the workshop, I left my bucket, because that's what I do at work. I left my bucket, and I expected the water to separate. And I got back, and I was like, what the heck? What's going on? I can't throw with this, or I can't, because I always put the top water in in a separate bucket, and then I put the slop water out. And so I asked him why they were different And I imagine, and he was like, I think that there's more bentonite in their clays. Is that so? How do you make a clay not slippy? I guess is what I'm asking in a very long way.
It just depends. It depends obviously on all the other stuff in it, but it has to do with like particle size and the variety of particles and the amount of bentonite for sure.
Okay.
For me, I don't use a lot of bentonite. I don't think I have bentonite in almost anything that isn't white. White clay is like the least plastic shit on the planet. All the good plastic juicy bits in the earth are colored with iron. They just come along with organics, iron, sulfur, and stuff, which are hidden in buff bodies, brown bodies, red bodies, etc. And they are naturally more plastic. Now, white bodies, to be white, obviously there's no iron, there's going to be less titanium, there's going to be less stuff in there. And so it can be very, very, very short. And kaolin is much whiter than ball clay. Ball clay is naturally very plastic. And so if you have a very high ball clay body, you don't often need bentonite. But if you have a very high kaolin body, like a porcelain, you got to throw that bentonite in like stupid amounts, or the clay will just fall apart because you got like kaolin particles. Think of them as like giant flat things, and then you got ball clay particles that are like boogers, and the boogers hold everything together. And if you just had water and kaolin, it just falls apart. So that some companies want to make it so plastic that it's just super plastic. Then they just have a certain amount of bentonite in there. That's more than I like. I like just enough to be plastic and slippy and have it vacuum well. If your clay is not plasticized enough, you won't actually get a vacuum. Is that your train horn?
That's our third host. It's the train. It comes once an hour at least.
Yeah.
So bentonite is a big, and tile 6, I don't know how familiar you are with tile 6 kaolin. It's a really poofy, fluffy kaolin that's actually blended with bentonite. So it comes as is already floofed, and then if that has a high percentage in a clay body, you're going to get like a real poofy, slippy thing. So like our white bear is like I didn't design it to be like B-Mix at all. I actually originally designed it to be a freckled cone 567 reduction body, and not enough people bought it. That people were like, I love this clay, but it's got black flecks in it, because I was using like a dirty kaolin, and which flashed really well in reduction. And then people were like, I'd love to use this if it didn't have flecks. And I was like, shit, all right, I'll just change it. Nobody's buying it. So I made it a much whiter, cleaner body. And so it's a high kaolin, very, very low ball clay, and you make up for the lack of ball clay with bentonite. Because like this much bentonite has the same effect as like 500 pounds of ball clay. So it's like like on steroids.
So like a softball size of bentonite is equivalent to the baseball field of
a couple 100 pounds of ball clay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's insane.
Well, look at your glaze recipe. How many glaze recipes do you have? No more than 2% bentonite.
Right.
Or it just falls. It increases your shrinkage because it sees the water molecules around it and goes, I want all of you. And it just sucks up all the water in the room, which is what made your slip bucket a slurry bucket, and it didn't separate.
And that's also why it would cause like warping and like shit, like the thing shrinking. And because I've noticed with B-Mix, it's harder to get a good handle attachment because it shrinks and cracks around the handle joints. That's definitely what I've noticed.
Yeah, and so I designed my clays to be just on the edge of plastic enough. Some people who don't like them, they say they don't recycle well, is they use a lot of of water while they're throwing, and they throw for a very long time, so they suck all the fine particles off. So all their recycle, all their bucket has no fine particles. They poured it all away. And so it's like you got to mix. Sometimes you have to mix if you want to recycle and get that plasticity, fresh clay and old clay, or throw a scoop full of OM4 into your slot bucket or something. You know, that. I really want mine to be on the line of I can throw this fast and I'm not like covered in shit. And
I appreciate you.
yeah.
Nice.
Some people like when you don't have a high skill level, it can be a challenge with some of them. It just depends. But like we have 35, 40 students and they all use our clays. Everybody gets to choose what they want and everybody seems to be pretty happy. I mean, even the intro people. So
yeah,
like the Iceman is a really good clay. It's not too.
That's what I use.
Yeah, I love that clay. It's sometimes I'll be like, oh, I haven't thrown with Iceman for a while, and be like, God damn, I need to rip that bitch right up.
Oh,
you know?
oh my God! Like, because I've been using the Dark Star, which is the Iceman with manganese, right?
Yeah.
And I like weighed out 14 ounces to make a wine glass, and I was like, okay, apparently I only need 12. This is not. I was like,
Yeah.
what is going on? This is insane. Yeah, I feel like I'm just moving up. Like I went from really shitty clay to semi shitty clay, and now I'm just moving my way up. So.
I appreciate that.
It's interesting to hear all the different intricacies of differences and like you explaining how you throw with the clay and the slippiness. Like I never thought about that. I thought that was just like what you get with throwing a white stoneware with no grog. I thought it was going to be slippy, but there are properties in the clay.
Yeah. Grog actually makes your clay shorter. So the more grog you add, the less plastic it gets.
That makes sense.
Some people will say, oh, I want to make something bigger. I need to add grog. And it's like, yes and no. It depends on what's in there. If you look at our clays, we don't have a lot of groggy clays. People don't generally like them. I mean, we sell some Iceman with grog, but it's 40-1 without grog, and people, I've just found that our clientele in particular really like smooth, fast throwing, nice, clays. Whereas I have a friend who owns Clay Planet in California, in San Jose. He has so much grog in his clay, but his clientele is very cone 10 gas. His cone 6, I mean, I would say 90% of our sales are cone 6. If you exclude school sales to, white earthenware. But he's like 85% cone 10 gas. So it just depends. Like, obviously, they have more natural gas than they have electricity, because they don't generate. We have cheap electricity here. So,
yeah.
Wow.
I just find that, like, a lot of people think that the speckled turtle and the big turtle have grog in them. Big turtle has a tiny bit of grog. Speckled turtle has none. I've chosen to use toothy fire clays and things like that to fill in for grog, because I like grog, but I don't want to throw it in everything ubiquitously because it can make your clay less plastic.
Yeah. So do you know what percentage of people are firing oxidation versus reduction? It sounds like with that much cone 6 clays, I would assume most of those are oxidation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know we have a customer, Mudfire, in Georgia. They do some cone 6 soda, which is pretty cool. And they use a couple different of our clays, a couple of high water clays, I think. And they also do some electric. But yeah, by and large, it's cone 6. Even colleges, I've noticed, when I first started Mudworks, colleges would order, 5 pallets of raw materials. They'd make their own clay. They all fired gas reduction or wood. And a lot of them have dialed it back to like either cone 7 reduction or a lot of electric firing oxidation. So
Interesting.
I don't know if it's for the green aspect. It's funny. It's like it's green as far as electric firing, sort of, or the temperature, but like ceramics isn't green. People think it is, and I'm like,
Yeah, you're taking materials from the earth and then you're producing it, and there's a lot of waste in there, and you're firing it. You're using a lot of electricity.
I'm not trying to make people feel bad about it, but it's just, it just depends on. I mean, I think making your own dishes as opposed to having things imported from other side of the planet that don't last, I think that in and of itself is both green and satisfying personally.
Yeah.
As opposed to just disposing of dishes that, came from Pier 1 every couple of years because you don't match your kitchen. I think, a lot of people who make their own stuff keep it until it breaks, so.
Yeah. Totally. That's crazy. I feel like we can go home now. I feel like we've already learned like a ton.
Did I bore you? Did I send you home?
No. I think this is all great stuff. And I was like worried that we didn't have enough, or we had all these questions, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to get any of these.
Yeah. The questions.
I had a fun question that I don't know that either of us know, but is gray clay a thing, and why is it not a thing?
Yeah, I want to know why.
Well, I'm working on gray clay. There is a gray clay. Standard has a gray clay 201, and I
disagree.
Gray, and it's gray. But if you don't like a groggy, toothy clay, then you might not like it. But it is it's straight gray. So I don't know why gray clay. I'm working on a gray clay.
Is it smooth? Okay.
She's like, I mean, it's gonna be smooth. We just talked about gray.
I'm just putting it out there. If you need a product tester.
Right. Yeah, I know.
I would be happy to test that too.
I'll send it.
Because I'm working on like really mid-century modern style design right now, like with my pieces, and the Dark Star is great, but a gray clay would look so fucking good.
Yeah.
I imagine seeing the glaze breaking off and seeing the gray underneath would look really nice. Or like
it depends on how you achieve the gray. You can achieve it like with iron, chromate, or some other stain or something. So it just depends.
Yeah.
Gray is because gray glazes. Nobody ever wanted gray until the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And now they're like, do you have this in gray? And I was like, no. But everybody wants gray. And now Amico has like 6 gray underglazes, and it's just funny. Gray is actually like really, really hard color to achieve in ceramics. Because there are not any mason stains. They call them sage gray. They're actually green, or they're blue.
Or they're purple.
Yeah. Or it's like black-ish.
Like partially black added to white so that it's like
exactly
portion.
Yeah, I've been fiddling with like a gray glaze for years, and I have 2 that I like, but one that I really like, but it's opaque. I can't get a gray translucent that I'm happy with. And the other one, if it's thinner, it's blue gray. So
yeah,
gray is one of those weird colors.
That's crazy. I know, like I had a gray mason stain gray glaze, and whenever it got too hot, it flashed purple. Mm-hmm. And no, maybe it was too cold. It was too cold. It flashed purple, and people are like, "This is so great." I'm like, and so unpredictable.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So for another clay, do you know much about flameware and like what makes it different than other clays with the thermal shock aspect? And
it's got so much lithium in it, and usually in the form of petalite. So lithium has a really low thermal expansion. So when you throw it into a fire, it's not going to go, mm-hmm. It's going to go, I got this, and do its thing. But
so it doesn't absorb the heat as quickly? Is that the idea?
It does in an even way. It absorbs it in like an even way, and it doesn't expand quickly. It absorbs it and allows everything around it in the matrix to do it gently as opposed to crack, that kind of thing. So, but lithium's super expensive thanks to Tesla. As soon as Elon Musk announced that he was going to make 1,500 electric cars a month like 5 years ago. Lithium went from like $8 a pound to 50, and it hasn't gone down. So, and
Whoa.
lithium is only in certain places. And there's two, as far as I know, I could be wrong, there's two lithium mines. One's owned by Toyota and one's owned by, I don't know, somebody else.
Interesting.
So, and you can get lithium out of spodumene, which is only like mined off of the coast of Australia, or petalite, which I don't know where petalite comes from. Petalite, I think, is normally what's used in flameware, but it's expensive. Like, as far as a clay ingredient, something that's $2 a pound wholesale for my cost to go into clay is like, what? You know? So there are a couple people that make flameware, but I'll never do it for liability reasons, just because.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a way to like properly test to see if you're, because sometimes you'll get customers that say, is this okay in the oven? And if you like make a pie plate, I assume the main way is to heat it up with the oven, and that's the safest way. But how do you like know if it's properly supposed to?
Ovenware and flameware are different. Flameware, you can pop that bitch on a flame. You can like
Right.
fry egg in it. Ovenwares, I mean, there are a couple people who use the Big Turtle for ovenware. They sell casserole dishes. A couple people around here, and they have customers who throw it in a hot oven and don't have a problem. I didn't design it that way per se, but you can test it by basically just putting something, like maybe some water or something, cold water, into a casserole, throw it into a 400-degree oven, and see what happens. Part of it is that the clay might be able to handle it, but the chosen glaze that you may have chosen, which could be any number of recipes you've made or you purchased from whoever, may not have been tested on that clay body. So that may put enough stress on the clay body that it just pops. So
does the higher cone clay withstand it better than a cone 6 clay?
It does. It does. When something's not fully vitrified, it tends to have a little more room to kind of do this.
So lower absorption helps, and then does like grog factor in, or the grittiness?
Grog does. Grog, molekite, grog, pyrophyllite, things like that in the clay body help. Any kind of thermal shock, basically. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But if you say you made like a casserole and half the ingredient and the stuff you put in the casserole was warm, you had just sauteed it up and you threw it in there and you put it in the oven, it might be okay. I think it just really depends. You got to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always reluctant. I'm like, I've never tested it, so I wouldn't promise anything, but
all
the best
my
thing
old
is
stuff.
Gradually heat it up.
All my old stuff, I sold pie plates, and nobody's ever had an issue. But like, also, when you hand it to him, you say, "Don't put a single potato in this."
Right.
But I say that because I've literally had that happen. Like, my neighbor put a single potato on a plate and put it in the microwave. And he was like, the plate exploded. And I'm like, you put a single potato on the plate in the microwave for 7 minutes.
No.
I'm like, of course it exploded. Like, it's not magic. Like,
Next.
I wanted to ask about the Dirty Girl Tools. So you have that as kind of like, I kind of see it as like a sister kind of company or like a child company. Like, how did that come about, or like, or how do you keep it like separate, or how do you decide to brand it?
Wait. Your Kentucky Mudworks is the pimp to the Dirty Girls.
No. So I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, something like that. It's hard for people to imagine in 2001, like, I didn't have an e-commerce website. There were not e-commerce websites. It was like a photo of the front of my store and an email address and a phone number, and like, that's how it was. And then a lot of that changed, over the years, blah, 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 came about, lots of e-commerce. And for me, I was just like, gosh, I'm just this tiny little store and only so many customers and it's local and I've got an e-commerce website, but how am I going to grow my business? And I just looked around and I'd gone to several NCECA conferences and it was like 5 or 6 tools companies. That was it. Everything was like what I would call a man rib, just this giant, like, huge hands, I'm going to make this giant thing, or just your average metal rib. There was nothing other than Mud Tools. Mud Tools had just come out like a year or two before, and his tools are dope. Totally awesome. And they were new. It was just the polymer ribs. That was all there was, and maybe 1 or 2 other things. But it was a very, like, we're here to serve as college professors, and this is what you get. And I was kind of like, I'm not okay with that, because all these tools suck and they've been around for 100 years, and Kemper had the same ribs and they were like, imported copies for half the price of exactly the same tool. And there was nothing that was like really well made, and Mud Tools was like, holy shit, quality was like boom.
When you could buy a rib that is $7 and it'll last you years and years, it's not a big deal for you to spend it.
Yeah, and they're beautiful and they're functional. I was like, so there's room in the market for this. And I was like, I have a couple of things I've been playing with and that I think might be kind of cool. And I had all these students who were like, oh, I'd love to buy some stuff, but there's nothing new. And I was like, well, I'll come up with something. And so I was just like, had like 5 or 6 tools that I was like, and at the time I was dating somebody who had a little tiny homemade CNC machine. And I was like, hey, can you cut this cool ass thing out for me? And he cut a bunch of stuff out for me. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And so I found a company that locally that cuts, all they do is cut shit for people. Cut. They don't care what it is. You give them a drawing, they'll cut it. And they cut rounds of stuff for me, and then I sort of went to my first NCECA, and I was like, I hope everybody likes this, And I kind of was gearing it towards women, because that was like 90% of the people taking my classes, and that was the growing Cone 6 market, and it was baby boomers who were like, I have always wanted to take pottery, and my kids are out, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And let's do this. And tools that fit their hands, tools that were ergonomic. I had a lot of students that had arthritis. And so the wire tools that were, literally the only wire tool on the market for 100 fucking years was this 18-inch Kemper thing that was like a pile of shit, not because it wasn't a good tool, but once you wrap your finger around it 40 times and it falls apart, the metal pieces just splay out.
Crimps up and...
Exactly. And you're just like, well, that's crap, and you throw it in the trash. And I was like, well, why are we doing this? Why not just make different sizes? Let's just do this. And so I was like, oh my God, I could make this. And I had a friend who was like, you could try thin wire, you could try thick wire. And I was like, yes. And so that's where the wire tools came from. And I just wanted to give it like I wanted it to be fun. And
remember that feeling of starting the new school year? New pencils, fresh notebooks, your favorite backpack? That's what opening a Sula Studio bag feels like. It's clean, it's organized, it's yours. Designed by potters for potters, it's got 30 pockets, including spots for every tool. Ribs, carving tools, sponges, all in the right place. The bag is made from machine-washable, quick-drying canvas, so you don't have to baby it. And the color options? Over 25, with special seasonal drops that always sell out. One reviewer said it best. The bag gave me the nostalgic feeling of starting a new school year. We felt that. Head to Sula.co and use code WheelTalk for a listener-only discount. And start fresh.
Kind of not super, woman-oriented. I wanted it to appeal to everybody, but I have a really kind of sick sense of humor, like, teenage boy meets 50-year-old woman. You know what I mean? Like, just like, fuck it, let's do it. And, so I just come up with fun names and, Dirty Girls, and just because it appeals to everybody. Everybody's a little bit like, I'm a dirty girl, or I wish my girlfriend was a dirty girl. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, it just plays on the humor of just doing whatever without being like exploitative. It's not like a pair of tits in a bag. You know what I mean? It's
like, unless you Google Dirty Girls without the pottery tools.
Tools. I have a staff member who just started like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she put in dirtygirls.com, and I was like, no! Like, oh my God.
Not on the work Wi-Fi.
I was like, you gotta add the tools, or you gotta, because I own Dirty Girls
Pottery.
Tools and Pottery Tools, and I'd redirect them. And I was just like, gotta stay there. I can't help that other one. So, I just have fun. I name things, with a sort of pseudo-sexual, fun, naughty
You got like the foot fetish cut tool, which is to give you like a certain shaped foot.
Snaggletooth, gap tooth, just shit like that. I just like to have fun, and
You have the best. Oh, you have the best clay names on the market for sure.
Oh, I wanted to have fun. I just want to have fun. I want to work hard, but I also want to be entertained. Like, and for me, humor is like, if I'm not laughing, you get the whatever that is. You know what I mean?
I thought you were gonna say get the fuck out of here, but
Yeah.
And I think it looks like you're trying to use pot lifters or something to get something off the wheel. I don't know what you're doing.
No, the thing they put the stuff on and then they shock you into heart attack.
Oh, the defibrillator.
The defibrillator.
Thank you. Yeah, I need to be laughing both at myself. I'm like super self-deprecating humor. Plus everything just needs to be, fun. And it's like you've only got one chance. You might as well take a chance. So with the clay names, we just started with like Kentucky folklore names, and then, like somebody's grandma that passed away, boom, that clay's named after your grandma. Boom, that's my dog. You know what I mean? It's like things that have meaning and just are fun. And you remember, for me, it's like with Laguna, they've got like 3 names for one clay. And this is not to disparage them. They have wonderful clay. Like WC 606, number 16, 40, and Miller 42. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Agreed.
Pick a name.
Or just numbers or something like that.
A number or name, exactly.
Yeah, like Standard has numbers, and we got like a few samples of them, and I was like, you can tell. I told Rebecca, I was like, you can tell that Kentucky Mudworks is owned by a woman, and Standard is owned by a man.
How so?
Because they have numbers and you have names, and you're just like, yeah, this matters. It matters.
For me, I don't love part numbers. There's something anti-cubical about me, and so like part numbers make a lot of sense, and a lot of my vendors and customers require, like, I have Dirty Girls Tools part numbers, but I only came up with them out of duress, and I was like, God damn it, all right, I'll give you a price list with part numbers. You know what I mean? But for me, I just want to say Tony Beaver and go, okay, or like round, like white. I just, whatever, Sheltoe, or, I just want to say the name, and I want that name to be something kind of cool. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
I've still got your Dirty Girls apron, and I wear it on my videos sometimes, and people see like Dirty Girl Tools, and they'll be like, "Oh, I like your apron."
Oh, cool.
Because you gave that to me a couple years at Inseco.
I feel like, did you wash it and it shrank a lot, or?
No, it's fine. I mean, I've got like 5 aprons.
Whoa. Ryan is literally like 2 inches wide. He's like, he wouldn't even know if it shrank. Like, he's so tiny. In the best way possible, by the way.
Yeah, I'm always on the search for a good apron, and it's like I can never get the same apron when we go to print them again.
Mm.
But we do have a limited edition T-shirt coming out, which is pretty cool.
Ooh. Yeah, I always like your T-shirts when they come out, like the drop it like it's hot with the cones. Like,
Yeah.
that's fun. And then,
Yeah. Our next one's pretty cute. It'll probably drop next month.
Nice.
So we just try to have fun and, basically.
sweet.
Keep it fresh. It's like I feel like 2004, 2005 was my first NCECA. I think it was Indianapolis, whenever that was. Could have been 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have no idea. But I went there and it was like, and this is not a dig on old white dudes, but it was literally like an old white man parade as far as like the business owners there. And it was like, this is what we have to present and this is how we present it. And I was like, okay.
Like a polo shirt crowd kind of thing.
Just kind of like, this is how we've done it for 30 years. And
That's it.
And I was just like, this is not going to work for like what's happening because y'all have no idea what's happening. You know what I mean? But part of it, and I understand, is that it was started as a professional like conference for professors, teachers, vendors, presenters that were on an academic level, which totally is fine. But what was coming was a 15-year storm of baby boomer females, whatever, hipster, millennial, I don't know what to call it. I have no idea. I don't want to insult anybody. Just younger people. No, like younger people.
College students and graduates and
who had an income and a drive to be self-employed in their 20s. You know what I mean? The majority of businesses in our industry are multi-generational.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, we make this, we sell it. We make this, we sell it. We might do something new every decade. And I'm like, bitch, I need new every 3 weeks. Or, I was like, there is so much. Let's do this. So for me, I'm happy with what's going on as far as like the entrepreneurial spirit that's happening in our industry. I think it's great,
Yeah.
And without social media and, e-commerce websites, it would be, so, I mean, it's so strong. And I think that some companies have adapted quickly and some are just like, we'll be here when it's all over, I mean, it's just, it just depends. So
I definitely, I think that's awesome. Like, I love Dirty Girls Tools, and I definitely think that had you not like come into the market, we would still be in the same place, honestly. Like, the only other tool person that came, I don't know, I'm sure there's other ones, but like the only other one that I can really think of is Garrity, and he's like, he makes his own and he's amazing. But like, we just I feel like we have a tool desert. and the tools that they have, like, I was talking, I don't know if you know Bear Ullman. Yeah. So I was talking to him and he was like, there's so many like, he goes, pottery tools are so behind because he does woodworking, like he does spinning, wood turning. Yeah, the lathe. Yeah. And he was like, the fact that you guys can't figure out a chuck, that like, like the fact that you guys are way over here and wood turning is like 15 years ahead of you. How is this even possible? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to think that the past is the only way to move our future. So.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's definitely changing.
Yeah.
I think that especially with the social media and the contact that people have and the exposure that people who use social media to innovate and to see each other's work and to market their work, it's changing faster than it did. It took like 10 years of change is like a year now. When I first started. So, I mean, for me, my tool line, I do, like, there's a lot of stuff out there that's like if you want to make this exact thing, here's the tool for it. For me, I'm like, I don't want everybody to make the same shit. I want to make tools that last, that are quality, that do something for you great, so that you can make your own work. I'm not like
You want that utility tool that like you're going to go to that does a couple different things really well.
The 5-in-1.
Exactly. And like, I don't want you to just put my tool up against your pot and have it be what the tool is, because then everybody can make it. And I'm not disparaging people whose tools are like that. That's just not me. For me, like, my faceting tool, people are like, what can you do with it? I'm like, fucking anything. You can cut your fucking cheese with it. I don't care. You know what I mean? And it's like, whatever. And cut the cheese, yeah. Yeah, I want to like expand what you can do by giving you tools that make you go, what the fuck is this? Is dope. What the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, this tool is beautiful and well made. Like, we make everything in house and I have a huge pride of manufacturing. And this is not like some xenophobic, I don't like imported stuff. For me, part of my joy of owning a business is that I employ people who like to come to work and who are like, I like making this shit. This is fucking cool. And so we source our ingredients in America because those things are giving people jobs. And please don't let this sound like some kind of political statement. It's genuinely not. It's absolutely just, if you have a job putting together this weird ass clay faceting tool, that's way cooler than working in a gas station potentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And my ability to control what goes into my products depends on me being able to get it. And a lot of that is it being domestic, you know? And then if I buy this thing from a domestic company, they're employing people, and it's all paying into the same kitty. It's not that I sell tools that are made in lots of different countries, and they're all wonderful. If they're good quality, I'll sell it. But for me, it's been important that I need it to last. I mean, there's a certain amount of, like, a trim tool is only going to last so long. Boom, done, you know? But, like, our faceting tools, the tool itself will last you 20, 30, I don't even know. The wire, we make it replaceable. You don't have to throw it away and buy a tool. You just buy a replacement wire. And for me, it's like, I like to design things that are sourced locally. It's just a control issue. You know, it's like, hey, buddy, this sucks. I need you to fix it. And they're like 5 hours away, as opposed to, I don't know where they are or where it comes from. You know what I mean?
And there's other factors that could come up that are outside of, like, an immediate control. Like, if it's COVID and you can't import anything, then
then your business model is fucked. And years ago, I was like, I want to give people jobs. I want a job. And part of that is making. If we're a community of makers, and it's important that we make a living making our work, it's also important that the people making the things that we make a living. And I felt that way for a really long time. And, you know, it works and it doesn't work. It just depends on your product, like Garrity Tools. They make their stuff. They are all local making that. They're probably sourcing their cherry wood locally because it's not like cherry grows everywhere. And they have a lot of pride, a lot of pride making that work, and it's, for me, I personally would rather be smaller and doing that than be everybody's everything, have to outsource. I'm just not brave enough to outsource. If I can't reach out and grab you and be like, my shipment is crap, I'm going to come to your house and shit on your dinner. I gave you $20,000. Where is my stuff? This stuff is messed. I'll get upset. And I just, that's my personal theory.
You need to threaten people in your time zone. That's
Exactly. And I mean, for a lot of it for me is that, like, COVID has shown me we have had some material shortages, but they were all American manufacturers that just had shortages because they didn't have the staff. That supply chain is crucial, and especially for a tiny submicroscopic business like mine in the view of the world, is that the most control you have on your bottom line, and my ability to keep the same paycheck in the hands of my employees is that I can control my supply chain, which keeps it closer to me, which makes it more expensive, but I feel better about it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like this is important for people to know. It's a sad thing or frustrating thing, but two things have happened with two companies, right, in the past couple of months, right? The fire and talc. Can you talk about those? Yes, she's shooting herself in the head right now.
So talc, yeah. I'm looking wistfully off into the distance to the land of easier times. So basically, American Talc was a family-owned company in southern Texas that provided talc to mostly the West Coast for the last gajillion years. And so everybody in the West has been using Texas talc for years. In the East, everybody was using Vanderbilt talc, which had the lawsuit, which then closed the mine, and then everybody went to American talc. And then
that was Johnson and Johnson, right?
RT Vanderbilt. I don't know anything about Johnson. I don't know which talc they use. I know it was RT Vanderbilt, which was Van talc or something. I can't remember. Nital. That was Nital. So everybody was using American talc for a decade, and it's been great. And then Dow Tile, biggest tile manufacturer on the face of the earth, buys the mine. And this is all on the border of Texas and Mexico, where apparently this deposit is. They have a factory. Dow Tile was the largest customer for American talc, that gray talc that fires bright white. It was the only talc in America that fires that white. And so they purchased it 3 or 4 years ago. And I noticed it one day. I got my bill of lading when the truckload, 40,000 pounds of talc came in, and it said that it came from Dow Tile. I was like, oh, fuck. Nobody told me that they got bought. And I was like, I don't know about this. Because usually in our industry, when a big company buys a small company, shit's going down. Shit's changing. NC4 Feldspar is gone. G200's gone. Shit like that. Boom, boom, boom. It doesn't make us enough money to buy. You know, so I was like, okay, great. Something's going to happen. 4 or 5 years later, Dow Tile has some kind of corporate meeting, and it's like, oh my gosh, this makes us no money. We're losing money reselling this talc. We really only use it for ourselves. And so we're just going to fucking keep it. And y'all can't have it anymore. So they sent out a letter that said, hey, in 8 weeks, we're going to close the mine. If you want anything, just buy it now. Literally, jeez. Every single pound of low-fire white earthenware with talc and every single low-fire slit cast product has that fucking talc in it in America. And we all had 8 weeks to just fucking shit or get off the pot.
Oh my God.
I private label clays for other companies and products, and I was like, fuck. And so, you know, we all just got in line and bought a couple years worth of product, because they normally when a mine closes or they discontinue a product, you get like 6 months or a year so that you can reformulate. Dow Tile was like,
oh my gosh.
that's what they were like, and it was like, oh my God. So I ordered 5 truckloads and was just like.
And when was that 8 weeks? Like, when did that happen?
February, into January, and I got like 5 truckloads March and April. Boom, 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 boom. You know, wow. A whole bunch of money I wasn't planning to just throw into a container and sit on, you know, 30 grand or whatever, etc. Because I don't have time to reformulate right away.
In that amount of time. Yeah.
White earthenware, and if you know anything about earthenware, it's not really clay. It's like, it's got to fit glaze. Like the whole point of earthenware is it needs to glaze and clay fit. And so you have to spend a huge amount of time reformulating to make sure it fits all commercial low fire glazes and all this stuff. I mean, we're talking 6 months to a year of R&D that I haven't done because I was just like, I'm just going to buy what I need and deal with it later. So freak out. And so that happened, and they've closed April 21st. They're like, bye. And so they just keep the product for themselves. Part of it is that they get the product out of the ground in chunks, and Dow Tile was processing it in their own facility. Their milling operation is what closed, taking that chunk and turning it into a beautiful powder that they could sell to people. So there's other talc mines in America that a bunch of people have gotten samples from. I've gotten a couple samples. I haven't even opened the box because I'm like not even ready to deal with it. And but they cost so much more. So for me, I don't understand why Dow Tile didn't go, hey, this isn't making us any money. We need to double the price. I'd have been like, here's my check. I'll pay twice as much as long as I don't have to change my product. But they just decided the whole operation wasn't worth it. It's a very corporate decision, which is like above my pay grade. Fine. So the other industries service paint and coatings and shit like that, and they cost more. So there's going to be an increase, and there's just going to be, a lot of people will have to have talc because there's talc in people's glazes and stuff like that. So I have to do R&D on my own so that you call and say, hey, what talc do you have and what the fuck's it going to do in my glaze? And I go, well, I think it's going to do this, that kind of thing. Here's a 1 pound sample, try it out, you know what I mean? So that was really kind of shitty. So yeah, that's talc. And as far as the grog factory, they had a fire in their control room. There's only a couple places that make grog in America. One of them is Christie Minerals. Another one is Mulcoa, that's owned by Emrys, and that's in Georgia. And they had a fire in their control room, which shut down endless amounts of production and kilns and everything. And they went into what's called force majeure, where they just don't take any orders. They only deal with in-house orders, and they only give you what they feel like they can give you. And they had to fix stuff, and it's still not up and running completely. So I have to get grog from another company, and maybe it's the same, maybe it's not. Do I make the clay, or am I out of stock? I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, I never thought this was going to happen, but,
Glad it did.
And I thought 2020 fucking sucked.
Wow.
2021 is actually like, are you fucking kidding me? Like last year was like, oh my fucking God. That was what I said last year. This year I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what I say. Like, really? That's like my go-to phrase. Oh, okay, add that to the list. It's more of a supply chain. This year is like supply chain aftershocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Did you all have a big increase in business with people having home studios during COVID?
We did, actually. We did. And we made it through pretty well because we had a good online website that was already in place. And I feel like places that had good, easy, quick e-commerce websites quickly, their clientele grew quickly. And offering the delivered price on clay was huge. People don't have to worry about how much it's going to cost for shipping. It's like, boom, $50 at my door, done, And I think a lot of smaller places or places that had more of antiquated e-commerce struggled a lot. Or people that relied overly on schools. So.
Right, because kids aren't in school. They're not using the clay, so they don't.
And that was it, is that it was like, well, hands-on. There were some play-at-home kits, and a lot of people did that with success. We thought about it, and then I was like, our e-commerce kind of took off, that I was just like, I don't have time to deal with it. So we didn't do a lot of clay-at-home kits. We did help some teachers out by doing some kits. But for the most part, in Kentucky, schools were just like, boop, off, done. You know, they might
Yeah.
do a couple of projects, but really not a lot. So yeah.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, because some businesses did like really well during COVID, and others just basically stand still and just basically took the year off.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think being able to adapt and just have, I mean, you can't know that something like that's going to happen, but having
No.
the pieces in place to, you know, like you said, the domestic, having things in house and having people that you can employ that can come into work, and like you have the space to, like, okay, we're just going to have you set up over here, and then we're going to be over here, and you can
Yeah,
make it work.
for a while, it was only 3 of us in a 20,000 square foot warehouse. So it was like, hey, you know, we didn't have the fear of catching COVID from each other because it was like, hey, you're way over there, I'm way over here.
Yeah.
You know, if we've got work to do, let's do it. I told my staff I did have to let some people go because I was like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, you know. And so they got unemployment. I was like, take that unemployment, make it work. You know, I'll call you if shit changes. And several of the people I did hire back, and some people moved on to other stuff. And it was really just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But the people I did that did stay on, I was like, I can't force you to come to work, but if you want to come to work, I'll pay you, and there's work to be done. And so my clay maker and my Dirty Girls tool maker and I showed up, and it was us for like 3, 4, 5 months, and you know, just getting through it and building the e-commerce, lots of curbside. I think the key is diversification, and I think
Yeah.
that was something I learned really, really early. Like when I first started in 2001, I was teaching classes, and they were 8-week sessions. So I had like income every 8 weeks, which sounded like a great idea until I had to spread that shit out. And it was not
Right.
spread. It wasn't spreading well. And then I had like art fairs in between. And it was like, at the time I was making like Japanese tableware and like fucking sake sets and like little sushi dishes. And people in Kentucky were like, what's this? And I was like, oh my God. They're like, why isn't it round? They're like, why isn't it round? I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. You know, and my work just didn't take off in a large commercial, you know, kind of way. And I was like, this isn't going to work for me. So that's when I started selling stuff to kind of fill the gaps. And then once I was selling stuff, I was like, oh, we'll make tools. Okay, that fills the gap. Oh, we'll make clay, and oh, we'll make glaze, you know, and just diversified. I've got wholesale income, retail income, classes, you know, just kind of.
Do you have studio rental there? Do you have
Couple.
students that can actually rent time and space there?
Yeah, like during our business hours, anybody can buy like a pass to do it. But if you want like 24/7 rental, since it's a community studio, you have to be like a trusted person that's been around for a long time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 5 or 6 people, mostly because it's not huge at all. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
the
like
space with the wheels and the
yeah,
hand building room is not really huge.
smaller. Yeah, like, and it's not like Queen City is a good comparison. Their business model is huge on education, like 20,000 square feet of studio rental, classes. We just can't fill that. Lexington doesn't have that volume of people like Cincinnati,
Right.
and that volume of people with any kind of income that can support that over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that level, you know. So for me, I got into e-commerce early in order to grow my business. And, you know, we'll never have 150 or students or whatever he has, which is awesome.
Right. And
You
your
know?
space at the place you have now is all of that education space at Queen City Clay is your backstock area where you have clay storage and you make the clay and you have the glaze storage and all the material. Like that's what all that square footage is for.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Can you now because you were talking about talc, and now I'm kind of curious what your answer to this is. Can you somebody asked, can you describe the difference between stoneware, earthenware, and porcelain?
Mm-hmm. Like, do you mean on like a molecular level or on like a texture?
Maybe just they follow it up with when to use each and what firing temperatures for each. So that's kind of where they're coming from it. Like,
Oh yeah.
in what situation
Okay.
would they use it?
I mean, I'm all down for the molecular, but that's fine.
Earthenware is like generally like a low fire 04, 06, and I think it first started based on like Mayolica ware from Italy, where you can, and in Mexico, where you can paint really brightly colored, true color things on your pottery and not have them move. Because the glaze and the clay don't actually interact, they just kind of stick to each other.
Okay.
It's got a porous body and a glaze that lays on it perfectly. And then you've got, so if you wanted to do something that's going to be outside, I wouldn't do earthenware because it's going to soak up water like a terracotta pot. And then in the winter it's going to, break. But if you want something that's got bright colors, you got lettering and writing that doesn't move or shift, then earthenware is your jam. Mid-fire is like stoneware. Like porcelain, you can have both temperatures. Porcelain has to do with the clay body that you use. Like the kaolin is it a porcelain, meaning like zero iron, iron, super white. And porcelains are generally zero porosity whenever they're vitrified. Like you don't even need to glaze it. You can eat out of that bitch and it's not going to stain. Wow. And it's just perfectly vitrified, and it's almost got a sheen, a cone 10 or cone 6. That's sort of a true porcelain. Stoneware is like when you get to use fire clay and like things with tooth and things with iron, things that are more plastic and that kind of thing. And you can do that at both cone 6 and cone 10. Is that a good explanation?
Yeah, I feel like stoneware is kind of the go-to for most people these days. Yeah. Has that been a go-to for the most part? You were talking about like 30 years ago, there's a lot more gas firing and stuff. Is that still considered stoneware that people were using it? Gas? Yeah. I guess it's still stoneware.
Yeah. Stoneware's like a utilitarian kind of clay, kind of a do-all, throw it, hand build it, do whatever. Porcelain is real finicky, as you guys know. It's just like, well, I wish those handles stayed on, but never mind.
Wow, that was round.
Right.
Yeah. Great.
Exactly.
Thanks for that.
I thought I had some skill, but never mind. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like porcelain's, if porcelain was like a personality, they'd be like the most shallow human being in the whole world.
Head cheerleader.
Yes.
Not to insult the head cheerleaders out there, but we're just going to go with the stereotype.
Yeah, we'll go with the Hollywood stereotype of a head cheerleader.
Beautiful. Like, porcelain's the kind of thing that you look at and you're like, it's just beautiful. You touch it and it's like silk. And it's just glazes glisten and glow on it. But then when you like take it on a date, you're like, why did I pay for dinner? God. And it's at 5 hours.
It just keeps talking to me. I don't.
Yeah.
It's so true. I don't, Ryan doesn't use porcelain very much.
I have never used porcelain. I still have a box of standard 365 in my studio. I don't even want to know what it looks like.
No,
I've had it there for like 7 years.
What is that? The NZ, the New Zealand stuff?
I love that stuff. It's
such a bitch. I had a student that was very, very talented, like so talented, and she was she wasn't really a student, but anyway, she was like super finicky, and like she was the HR, or not the HR, the quality and control at her job, and so like that's just like the personality type that she was, and she was using the New Zealand porcelain, and I have never seen anybody conquer porcelain like this woman did. And she's like just phenomenal. She like that. She only used the New Zealand stuff. And for those who don't know, it's like pure white. It is like it's translucent, so when you put a light in your cup, it like blows outside. Yeah, the only thing
Yeah.
that she didn't really get was the glazes, because my glazes ran like a motherfucker on them because
Yes.
yeah.
Because so like that stuff is super cool. Actually, not clay. We call it a kaolin, but it's not. It's like this weird tube, and it's got like huge spaces in between, and you have to fill that with plasticizer and other kaolins. So it's really prone to crack. It has zero titanium, which is what makes porcelains opaque. So that's why it just glows.
Yeah.
But it's a bitch, man, to fill in those gaps and make it plastic enough to work with but not fall over, and you got to flux the hell out of it because it's like, cone 18 or something that it matures at by itself. So yeah, when you put a glaze on it, you're like, well, that's all over the shelf. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's beautiful and seductive at the same time.
Yeah.
But generally, 20% of the shit I make out of like our white lightning, margin of error. Coda is to me an improved white lightning. It's not as translucent, but it's hella translucent, but it's way more forgiving. Because I was like, I just can't take this disappointment anymore. I just can't handle it, fuck, so.
Yeah, I like, part of me really wants to go to a porcelain again, but the other part of me that's like knows how much it warps is like, nah.
Yeah, for me it's like just the random cracking. What do you mean? It took me a week to get these to dry. Oh, we don't care,
Yeah.
So, and it's like people will email me and ask, and I'm just like, God, I just can't tell you that it's like not predictable. There's no real scientific way to explain why. All porcelains, you get a porcelain from one company and another company, it's all so different, and it's just it has such a mind of its own,
I think you need to like really just tell everybody about the cheerleader situation and be like, here's the deal, like, my porcelain is like the head cheerleader at Kentucky University, whereas like,
University of Kentucky, get it right, Becca.
I'm sorry. Whereas Colorado's porcelain is like their head cheerleader, and so they clearly not the same.
They're not the same.
They're unpredictable. One could be a cowboy and one could not.
Exactly.
There's some other questions about some darker clays. So you have brown bear is the one that comes to mind, but they're asking about thoughts about very dark clays that contain manganese and like the safety of using them and firing them. So can you kind of speak about that? And I'm guessing the brown bear has manganese, or I don't know about manganese.
Yeah, it actually has less than 2% manganese, so it's not as high in manganese as people think. That's what makes it brown when it's wet. It's actually. Go ahead.
We should talk about why first, before we get into how much it has. Like, why is manganese? What is it? Is it harmful? Like, what's the?
Mm-hmm. So if you look at SDS sheets, the number one hazard, like level 12 panic button shit, is silica.
Mm-hmm.
So that's absolutely the most important thing that's literally in every single thing that we work with. That's the single most harmful thing. So that's considered, I think, OSHA like a Schedule 1 hazard, and manganese is a Schedule 4.
Okay.
So it's lower down as far as the threats, but they're different. Silica, as you know, is dry form, is that's the issue. Sanding, sweeping your studio, any kind of dry work, mixing your own stuff. Manganese is a fume hazard, actually, when it's firing.
Okay.
So, and the dust as well. You don't want to have like a pile of manganese and just be like, throwing it in your face. As far as the dust goes, But if you think about it, the majority, so you have to weigh what's in the percentage of what's in what you're using. So like 60% of basically everything has silica in it. So you're talking high level, glazes, clay, everything. And because it's almost every ingredient is a silicate, aluminosilicate, magnesium silicate. There's silica in everything. It's actually, I think, like the most abundant part of the earth or something, that and iron. And then manganese is, say it's like less than 2% in a clay body. So you've got a pound of clay and you've got, 100 grams. You've got 2 grams.
Right. 2%.
Yeah.
Math, yeah. 2 grams of raw manganese in there. And so you just have to realize that you don't want to sand it. You don't want to, it's a dust hazard. And then when you're firing it, you want to vent your kilns or not be there. Like we fire at night and we have like a,
Big hood.
We don't have a hood because we're in a giant warehouse, but right above our kilns is like these giant louvered fans, and it just bursts into this giant warehouse, and we fire at night. And so by the end of the day, by the next morning, we open up stuff and, recirculate the air. But if you're like my little studio that I'm in right now is, 15 by 20, and then I've got a little kiln room, I've got a vent fan that when I'm firing, anything with speckles or manganese, then it's leaving while I'm firing. And it's also so fucking hot in here, I don't usually hang out,
Right.
even with air conditioning. So I think a lot of it, I don't want to say it's blown out of proportion because I think studio cleanliness is essential, but I don't think people should be scared to use these things. I had a lady who was like, at Nsika, who was like, I can't have manganese in my house because I have a small child. I was like, you've got a studio in your bedroom, in your spare bedroom, and you have a kid and you're worried about manganese and there's silica everywhere. Yeah. I was just like, boo, you've got to gauge that. If you're cleaning up your clay dust, you're cleaning up that manganese dust at the same time,
Yeah.
So it's just really important. And if you're firing it, you've got to vent it or have it in an outside building or a garage or somewhere where you're not working at exactly the same time as an unvented kiln. And that's what the SDS sheets say, basically. There's a whole lot of sciencey shit on there, but that's basically what they say.
So that's not one of the. How does that differ? What are the materials that are the whole, like, you don't want to absorb them through your skin? That's more like stains and stuff, right?
That's more like, I don't know, actually, if it's stains. I
feel like I see people throw with, like, colored porcelain, and they wear the gloves and stuff. Is that, like, I'm forgetting what the word is. It starts with an I. It's like an emulsion red or, like...
I don't know.
Iodine?
No, there's some kind of, like... maybe it's encapsulated is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, well, the cadmium encapsulated stains, those are, like, bright colors. But those are cadmium that's actually bound in a chemical matrix, and it's not going to come out. So that's how you get like reds and yellows and oranges real bright. For people who are like brown bear, it'll like stain your fingernails because the iron. It's a huge amount of iron. And we use iron bearing ball clays and red ball clays and red. There's just there's so much more iron in there than actual manganese.
Yeah.
That people it's like a trigger word for people. And it's like, really, iron is actually on the SDS sheet as well, as you should vent your kiln if you have a huge amount of iron in your clay body. So I don't know if like I know black stain, like I know SiO2 has some colored clay bodies, and I think that they stain your like cuticles and stuff. But I don't sell them.
But it's not a risk. Manganese is not a risk from like absorbing in the skin. Where when you're throwing with, it's not. Yeah.
No, it is not soluble. Things that are soluble are lithium and what else? Lithium, boron, things like that are soluble, and they're there's not a lot of lithium in clay bodies except for like flameware, but I don't actually know enough about flameware in a clay body, like the lithium
percentages and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's more like lithium in glazes. If it makes them soft, they can be soft, which will then leach and then do a thing where if you're like, I grew up in college and it was like, stir it with your arm. I store barium glazes with my arm and stuff like that. And
You're still alive.
I know, I'm not saying you should do it, but we don't use barium for anything in any glazes. But we do sell it. But but yeah, it's it's not doesn't absorb through your flesh at all. It's not like that.
So like if I have a speckled clay-bodied cup that's fully fired and it's glazed on the inside but not the outside, that's fine.
Oh, absolutely, because
Yeah.
that's actually granular manganese and it's actually melted and it's part of the clay matrix.
Mhm.
You're not going to be I think I've read the SDS sheet like 1,000 times. I could be completely wrong, but there's no it's not soluble. It's not going to go into you and do anything like that. If you ate like a spoonful of manganese, that's probably like a really bad fucking idea. But
Don't do that.
Right? Yeah. So, but as far as like absorbing through your skin, no,
Gotcha. Some of those other clays, like I've heard that the brown bear has a potential to bloat more. And about somebody asked about firing dark iron stonewares and bloating and preventing it. So is there a best practice for firing some of those clay bodies that have high iron?
I have used the Cassius clay or black, whatever it's called, from Aardvark, and 266, and I don't know what's in them per se.
Or 266 is what I was thinking of, probably not the brown bear.
But those have. I used to use 266 as a production body, and I enjoyed throwing it. I didn't like the white flecks personally. I think it's a fire clay or something in there, but it bloated on me inconsistently. I think it has a very finite firing temperature, and I don't know what's in it, but I think it and Cassius clay or whatever it's called, dark black.
The black one.
Yeah, from Aardvark. I don't know what it's what's in that as well, but it is it bloated as well on me, and it didn't like glazes very much.
No, it hates glazes.
2 or 3 glazes that worked with it. The clay itself was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I just never found anything that worked with it literally, and I'm guessing it has to do with what's in it. But for me, brown bear, I wanted it to not be a bloating issue, which I have not found to be an issue at all. Like I don't recommend fast firing anything that's truly vitrified at your 5 or 6 or 7. So you should slow fire. Because anything that's truly vitrified at like 5, 6, 7 is starting to vitrify at like 3 and 4. So if you're a rocket through those temperatures, you're just capturing gases, and so you can make that happen by firing too quickly. But brown bear, I haven't had any real reports of any bloating. If anything, it only likes glossy glazes, or it likes glazes that that will lay down, because again, the amount of iron, and it's not the manganese, it's the amount of iron coming out of that glaze. It's just so much gas. I mean, the manganese, cone 5, 6 is like a sweet spot for manganese. It really just kind of goes, okay, I'm going to melt, boom. And it's just beautiful at that point, and that does let off gases. And matte glazes don't heal over. So they just don't, it's just not a thing. And
oh, sorry.
No.
Oh, we had we were making some plates and we had them bloat, but we're a fast fire situation.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, it was just a few, and they got too hot. They just got too hot. But yeah, I find that in brown bear it moves a lot. It almost moves like a porcelain. It warps a little.
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very smooth, very buttery, a lot like the shell toey, and I kind of like that. So
yeah. Oh, I love throwing with it. It's great.
But yeah.
So it
But
sounds like
yeah,
a medium
great.
firing or a slow is
Yeah.
kind of a way to counteract some of the bloating and not go into like cone 7 if it's a cone 5, 6 clay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
And
go too
also
hot.
bisking it at an
Oh,
appropriate rate as well.
yeah. We missed at '06. We've always missed everything at '06 because I'm kind of like, oh, '06, '07 should be plenty. But
Yeah.
I'm learning that there are some commercial glazes out there that become liquid. They begin to liquefy at like '06 and '05, even though they're a cone 6 glaze, and they trap the like organic gas things that are in your clay body, that if you haven't bisked over '04 or 204, you get pinholes like a son of a bitch.
Hi, I'm Taylor from Backyard Kiln. You may know me as the golden voice of several of the ads you hear on this podcast, or from the Wheel Talk Book Club episodes, which are so chaotic and fun. But today I'd love to talk to you about my absolutely true experience with L&L kilns. I bought my first kiln Charlotte secondhand from someone online. She's an old, reliable L&L Easy Fire. I'm a DIY kind of person, and I love to be able to take my kiln apart and fix it myself, and I do. Every time it throws an error, I can either find out how to fix it on their YouTube channel, or if I'm stumped, I just call up L&L customer support, and they're always able to get Charlotte back up and running. They send parts right out to me over the phone. It's super easy. I've always been impressed with L&L's customer service and expertise and the ease with which I can maintain my own kiln. You don't even need special tools to change your elements or thermocouples. I just keep a couple normal household tools down in the studio, and I am good to go. L&L, the easiest kilns to install, use, and maintain.
What the
Oh.
Yeah.
fuck?
No, I've been learning that, and because I didn't know, and it's mostly Amico, and it's not a fault of the glaze or a fault of the clay. It's a compatible. It's learning what's going on with the two items. For me, I've always encouraged people, oh, biscuit '06, '07, because our line of glazes, they don't even become glossy until like 4.5. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, so I thought that was normal. So I've never had a pinhole in single one of my glazes. And then in the last, couple of years, as our clay bodies have become more popular, they're getting further out in the market, and people are using more different brands of glazes with them. I'm getting reports of, oh, pinholing this, pinholing that, and
I've never heard of that.
yeah.
I never thought to think of like the glaze part. So it sounds like
Well,
when they're getting up to '04 or '06 or whatever, it's like absorbing some of the glaze.
Well, it's like the surface tension. And I called my friend at Amico. I was like, what is going on? I've been doing this for 20 fucking years. What am I doing wrong? There's nothing wrong with my clay. There's nothing wrong with your glaze. What's going on? And a lot of it has to do with the combos. The combos is the biggest thing. This over this over this over this. And you got 50 fucking layers of shit on your pot. And it looks beautiful, but you've got this layer of liquid shit on top of your clay. And if you apparently haven't burned out a sufficient amount of organics, that's all going to get trapped over this layer.
Oh, okay.
That
There's
begins
still
to
organics
liquefy.
coming out of the clay between '06 and '04 is what you're saying.
Exactly. And if those glazes are liquefying, they're creating a surface tension that's keeping that shit in. That's then
Gotcha.
turning into a crater. And I mean crater. I don't mean little tiny pinhole. I mean like, crater in the glaze firing. And so I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. And a lot of that has to do with just some companies will test their glazes on their own clays, and clays, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, there's so many iterations. They can't test everything.
Exactly. And so it's been a learning process for me, and a lot of it has to do with communicating with other companies. Like, hey, what's going on? I love your glaze, but it looks like shit on this clay. What can I do?
That is insane.
I think that's a good proponent for just the makers need to be testing stuff anyways and figuring out what's going on. Because some people just can't answer those questions without knowing the intricacies of your process.
Exactly. And for me, I designed our line of glazes 16, 17 years ago when I started, and it's grown, but it was on, I didn't make clay then. It was on standard Laguna and high water. And so my glazes lay down on anything because Cone 6 glaze. Slap that shit on, that shit fires, boom, you're done. But that's my technology, because those are the recipes I started with, and so I have no idea what's in other companies' glaze recipes. So for me, it's been a very interesting learning process. So
That's crazy.
And explaining that to the end user is like, well, this is the thing, So
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, weren't you bisking to like 08 for the longest
I was
time?
bisking to 08 because that's what we did in college.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a
where-
time-saving thing or the clay that they used could withstand it or what. But
my point is that for people that make glazes that require an 04 bisque, you're assuming that the end user of your glaze has control over the bisque temperature. And if you bring your pots to my studio, I'm gonna throw those bitches in an 06 or an 05, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so you buy a commercial glaze of any other manufacturer and you put it on there and you could get pinholes. So, that's my point is that you can't assume I don't want to engineer a product that only works in one way, except I make clay bodies that need to be slow fired, so I get the height, thing, but I think now that people are using lots of different brands overlapping each other, that we're kind of getting to a point where we're like, oh shit, these need to work together, So I've just been telling people you can bisque to 04. And for me, I've just bisque to 06 or 07 because it's like, I'm cheap, get that shit bisque, let's be done. Whatever. It's a bisque. And so now I'm learning. I've been doing 05, and that has helped actually for some student work that they use Amico or Mako glazes specifically. The glazes are laying down better. So
wow.
I might go to 04. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I hear 04 out there, but I've heard from others that like 06 is okay. But
Well, for me, I've always been a dipper. I don't have time to paint, and actually now I paint more glazes on than I ever did because I don't have a dipping system in my studio and I'm not in production, and I just kind of like drink wine and watch British murder mysteries and just paint shit on. Like, whatever. And so, but for dipping, 04 can be a little bit tight. So I've not been a huge fan of 04, and there's a reason. So,
I
it
started
sounds like
at
my
04.
glazes could look a lot different.
Yeah, I started at 04, and then the white that I was using was not absorbing as well. And so we went to 06, and then I've always bisqued to 06 from then. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very cool. So.
Did we want to do any of the last questions that some people had? There's a few in here about recycling. Like, is there too many clay bodies that you can recycle together? Or, can you recycle too much? Or recycle your clay too many times?
You can. If you recycle your clay too many times, you've pulled off a lot of the tiny fine particles, so you end up with a short clay. So I recommend throwing in a scoop of bentonite or a scoop of ball clay, or just wedge it with some fresh clay.
Is that per, like, what's the proportion here? Is it like 1 cup per like 5-gallon bucket of slop? About ish, yeah.
It's like something, I mean, it's not real sciencey, so whenever you recycle, you kind of get what you get. I just recommend people put everything in from their bucket in, as opposed to just the chunks. And because think about your B-mix water. You threw away all the super fine stuff with your B-mix water. So
yeah.
So with the Iceman, like I have a bucket there with the Iceman, right? And everything settles to the bottom. So is Iceman all at the bottom, or is there still stuff in the water, even though the water's very clear?
If the water's very clear, you can dump the water.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out.
Sweet.
But if you find it getting short, it's because the stuff in your splash pan, or you just nibbled off enough of the fine plastic stuff that you need to wedge it with some, or pug it with some fresh.
Because the fine is going to hold it together. It's not going to rip apart.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I think pugging it with fresh is a good idea regardless, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there too many clay bodies you can reclaim together? I guess if it's at the same
You'll get
temperature,
whatever you get.
probably doesn't matter, right?
If you get like a bunch of cone 6 in a pile, you'll end up with a cone 6 clay.
Yeah.
Proportions are high enough, yeah.
Yeah. So.
So I might ask about speckled clay. Why do the speckles only show up after the final firing?
Because that, again, the manganese has a sweet spot. It's like at cone 5.5, they just go, they just melt into this, the black specks. And right before then, you just see tiny little specks, and then all of a sudden, I think
it's real subtle when it's wet.
Yeah, 2150 or something, they just go, oh, and they just become liquid. So, and then if you fire them to like 7, 8, 9, I think they increase in size. I don't know. I think there's a couple of cone 10 speckle clays with manganese, but I don't make one. So, yeah.
Nice. Somebody asked. This is a good cleaning question. So you talk about cleaning your studio and studio practices. They said, how do you clean your studio floors? Whether I guess it's in your student spaces or like the spaces where you mix in a bunch of clays and dry materials. I can imagine that can get pretty crazy to clean.
Yeah, we have like we pick up the chunks and throw them in boxes and they go in the trash. But we have like that green sweep, that kind of oil coated sawdust that we'll put down if we have like a spill. Oh my God, this bag of clay just fucking broke everywhere. Great. And we just throw the green sweep on it. And that keeps the dust down, and we'll just put it in, sweep it up and then throw it in the dumpster. But periodically, like ideally once a week, but it doesn't happen. I have a floor cleaner. It's like one of those little, janitorial, like scrubber.
Like a Zamboni.
Bang. Yeah. And I just kind of like, my AirPods for like a couple hours, and I just suck up this slurry of just crap. And just,
It's got to look nice when you're done with that.
It does. Like 5 seconds, dude. It's dope. And then it's just like...
How much does one of those cost?
A lot. Ours is tiny. Ours is like
an 18-inch or 24-inch or something.
24 inches, because we are in a really old building where some of the doors you're like, who the fuck was in here? How did you get in this room? Lilliputian shit, when people were like really skinny. And so I was like, it needs to fit through every door. And it was like $7,000 on sale. They're
God.
They're like $15,000. They're really expensive, but man, they're worth every penny. If you have a concrete floor or like a solid surface, because you can mop all you want, but you're just going to smear it everywhere. And, but this actually vacuums it up right away and it's dry. So you don't have like the slipping hazard and, it's pretty cool.
But it puts water down and then vacuums it, right?
Yeah,
so there's no hazard.
It doesn't put enough water down to not kick up dust, so I just spray. I just have a hose and I just mist the whole warehouse or the whole studio, let that soak it up, and then the brushes just go and just make a slurry.
Oh, nice.
And I suck the slurry up, so it's all...
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's dope. Yeah.
What about the air filtration system?
We have like 18 different HEPA things. We've got like a little arm that's like HEPA. We've got like a hanging thing. We've got like a thing. There's a lot of collection.
A lot of things.
A lot of
air things.
Yeah. But like generally, if you buy like air filtration for your studio, it doesn't have to be HEPA. But if you're an employer, if it filters anything, it has to be HEPA because you have employees. So... really, most things that are going to filter dust are going to be like 99.5. HEPA is 99.97. So, it's...
So if it's just you in the studio, you're putting yourself at risk, and it's like get something that air filtrates, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I had to get like these IQ Airs, and they're one of the only ones that are not like those huge ass ones that you put on the ceiling, but it's like a hyper HEPA, so it sucks out 0.001 microns or whatever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty cool though.
Becca,
Yeah.
did you see this last question here? I feel like this was a nod to you, but there's one that says, "How hot can you pull pieces out of a kiln without negative side effects? And does it vary with glaze or glazes?"
Oh Lord, that's like, depends on the.
Are you sure you want to answer this?
I would like to just get a second opinion because I feel like Becca has said her piece, and then I'm sure others have said their piece. I'm curious to hear somebody else.
For me, if it's my own work and I need it, I'm like 350. Get that bitch out. If it's like student work or something that I don't want to mess up, under 200, under 150, under 100 ideally. But yeah, for the
Nice.
most part.
Have you had people talk about clays and like having issues with anything like that of taking them out too early or having? Does the clay have a big factor in like whether you're going to get glaze issues as it's cooling and stuff like that with like glaze fit? Have you had a lot of issues with that or?
If pulling it out too early, you mean?
Yeah, pulling out too early or just people having issues with the glaze fitting on Mudworks clays or something like that.
Couple. I mean, it depends on the brand. I find that Coyote glazes aren't super compatible with ours as well as like high water. Part of it is that I think a lot of companies only test their glazes. Their glazes are beautiful, but they do all their R&D on a B-mix body. That's it.
Yeah.
Because it's bright, it's true to color, and it looks good, and it's fast. And that worked until 5 years ago. Everybody used B-mix, everybody used white clay.
Yeah.
And now it's, for me, I made a line of clays that I think the clay looks prettier than the glaze. Why not show the clay off? So you've got a lot of people using a lot of different colored clay bodies with a lot of different chemistry, and then you've got glazes that were only ever tested on one or two bodies. And they're out in the marketplace. And so you're going to have a lot of issues as far as that goes. That's my thing. And I'm not saying I've done it perfectly and I've tested every one of my glazes on every single clay body or every one of my clay bodies with every glaze.
Right.
It's not possible. But for me, whenever I release a glaze with my label on it, it works with every clay body as far as fit goes. Brown Bear is an exception because it kind of absorbs color. You know what I mean? And it doesn't like matte glazes. But
yeah.
But I don't usually approve or like a glaze other than a clear or like a line of pastels, for just one clay body. Like we have like 5 or 6 colors that are really meant for porcelain because they just are pastels and they sing on porcelain. But we wouldn't even see them on Brown Bear, but they would still fit the Brown Bear. But,
yeah.
So that's where my thoughts on that go. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Becca, did you have any last questions? We just hit the 2-hour mark.
What's your favorite color?
Blue of some kind.
Blue?
Blue of some kind. Like my studio, I love that color. But I also love like.
It looks kind of green on the camera.
It's like an aqua.
It's an aqua blue. Like a pastel. But I love like steel blue. I just like colors that make me go, oh. So, I don't love white. White's like the new thing. Everything's white. Everybody wants white walls and white this and white that. I never got into that. I like color. But I like bright color too. For me, I tend to go for muted tones.
Nice.
Awesome. So did you all have anything new coming out that you wanted people to know about for Mudworks? I know you were talking about you're working on a gray clay body potentially. Are there anything new that people should look forward to?
Limited edition clay bodies. I'm really enjoying the limited edition clay body thing. It's fun, and if it works and becomes a staple, then it won't be limited edition. I've got about 2 or 3 bodies. I'm working on not speckled turtle dark, but not Iceman light. Like those two like had a baby with some speckles, but they're really random and different sizes and stuff. So like a warm, something that looks like your traditional uncle's 1970s stoneware. Yeah.
Oh my.
Right?
Sounds like right at Becca's alley.
I know. And then a gray, and then I've also got a porcelain with golden flecks in it.
What?
I know, right? I know. I'm excited. And then we're working on a glaze that's a line of satin glazes that are fork and knife resistant, like fucking samurai sword satin glazes. So.
Wow. Yeah, people always love the satin black glaze that I have, so
yes,
that's a lovely one that people always appreciate.
Yeah. And not like those horrible, like super bright, like neon rainbow satin glazes. I don't love those. Like I like those colors, but I don't want that on my pots. I like if you look at all of our glazes, it's like, oh, Link likes muted earth tones. Just so I don't know. That's what I'm working on.
Is there a white clay with like specks in it that's like, let's see, somebody asked white clay that has spots in it after it's fired? I guess that would be like a Dark Star would be an option.
Yeah, that would be Dark Star.
Was that a limited edition one, the Dark Star?
No, I basically threw that one down and was like, this is dope. And
yeah.
I feel like it's fairly recent, right?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years. I don't know if you noticed now there's a B mix with specs. So I guess you know that you're famous and you've made it in the tiny world of pottery when Laguna decides to copy your clay body and make a B mix with specs. So.
Oh.
Kidding.
Nice.
I saw that and I was like, fuckers. Like, whatever. So.
You're like, whatever, I'm the shit. It's fine.
I used one of the. Josh had some of that speckled brown bear. I tried some of that. I didn't see what it looked like after it was fired because he was firing it, but the mug I saw looked good. I didn't get to look at it close up, but.
Yeah, it's fun. It's real subtle. You gotta slap a glaze on it that really the specs come out. That's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. I really.
I need a t-shirt that says bitches love specs. That's like gonna be on my gravestone, and I mean bitches in a very respectful way, like not that way. But it's just like everybody loves speckles. Not everybody, but it's just like, you like that? Throw some specs in it. People are like, oh my god. It's really.
I think that speckles is the new shiplap. No, but it totally is. Like, I'm actually not a fan of speckles. Like, I am a fan of speckles, but I'm not. I chose them. When I was doing my testing, I was like, oh, I'll just try the speckled clay, whatever. And then it turned out to work really, really well with what I was doing. But typically, I'm not gonna like scoot towards a speckle. But I definitely feel like every 20 to 27 female potter is using speckled clay right now, and with a white glaze, I will tell you,
speckled white sells like hotcakes. I sell it like crazy.
Good. Yeah, I include Ryan in the
20 to 30-year-old women. Yeah.
Women. Yeah. And yeah, it's the new shiplap. It's the Joanna Gaines of the clay world.
Right.
That Inferno Red looks really good on the speckles though, because it looks kind of rusty and it's cool. People like that for sure.
Like random, the manganese specks come through randomly. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, one funny thing is that I guess a while ago somebody threw a bunch of tumblers and stuff in the speckled turtle, and you can't tell the difference when it's bised between the speckled turtle and the regular turtle, and so just randomly there'll be like a speckled white tumbler like in this group of like in the group like that gets fired, and I'm like, Rebecca, why is there always just one? And she's like, because we have no idea where they are. Like it's like it's
move over on the disc.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, how can, like, I guess, where do we find, I guess we kind of talked about where we find you, but what's your website? Let's go with that.
KYMudworks.com or Dirty Girls Pottery Tools.com. And both the Groovy Tool, Trim Tools, and Dirty Girls Tools on it. And that's a separate website because it's easier to find. Sometimes when you got like 4,000 products, shit gets buried in a Mudworks website. And we have like 35 dealers for our tools, so it's easier for them to like see what we sell. And it's kind of a separate brand. So those are the websites. Yeah.
Sweet. Cool.
Thanks for chatting with us. I feel like we're all smarter from listening to this.
I definitely
I learned a few things for sure.
Yeah. We're gonna leave. We're gonna say goodbye, but don't leave.
Somebody really smart's gonna call me like, that bitch doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
And I feel like you just got a whole bunch of new customers from this conversation. So
just remember, they listen to me on a regular basis, so you're gravy.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Wheel Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.